I'm going to share with you 7 proven steps that'll help you build your confidence back. It'll help you settle your nervous system. It'll help you be comfortable in social situations. You're going to want to stick around because number 7 is one of these steps that's important enough, not for today and tomorrow, but this step is important for the next couple of decades of your life. Hi, my name's Glenn. I help men who are in their 50s and 60s that are going through the pain of separation or divorce after years of marriage. You see, I was married for 31 years. And yes, I went through the difficulty of separation and divorce, and I overcame this. It was not an easy time. I did come up with some steps that helped me to build my confidence back and helped me to regain my footing so I could learn to like myself again, get out there on the dating circuit, and yes, settle into a relationship. But first, it's important, guys, that we do the work to regain our footing and to strengthen our nervous system so we're not a hot mess out there. You know what I'm talking about. When you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, what have I done? Why am I here? Why did I make the choices I made? We're going to stop beating ourselves up and we're going to learn some steps, 7 steps, in fact, that I used to help myself become a better man. Will you say, hey, man, I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s. How am I going to change? You can change. You can learn to like yourself again. You can learn to have social confidence again. So stick around, guys, because I want to help you build back better after divorce. All right, step number 1 is really important because it's an outlet, but also it's something to improve your body and mind. And this step is simply exercise. All right. And I'm not just talking about mindless exercise, but I'm talking about useful exercise, exercise that serves not just one purpose, but multiple purposes. And I have to give the caveat, if you're not in great shape or if you're not sure about your physical shape, talk to your doctor before you start an exercise regimen. This is important. When I found myself alone in my apartment the first few weeks after separating from my wife, I knew I had to spend as little time as possible in my apartment. Why? Because it was a depressing place. It had 3 windows. So what I started to do is I went to the parks nearby and I walked. I'm a nurse, so I spend plenty of time on my feet every day. But I got to tell you, I'd spend probably about 16,000 steps a day on my feet. But after that, I'd go get a quick bite to eat. What would I do? I'd go to the park, if the weather permitted, and I would get out there and I would still walk. I would challenge myself to walk for at least a half an hour. And oftentimes, when I got to a half an hour, I was having such a nice time, I'd basically challenge myself to go another mile or at least another 15 minutes. What did that do? Well, it gave me time to process my grief. It gave me time to sort out my thoughts, but it also gave me a really good way to get in shape. It helped me exercise my social muscles because I was out there at the park. I started seeing the same people walking their dogs every day, and I started talking to these people. And believe me, if you've gone through separation or divorce, you're in strange new territory, and even your social skills need to be redeveloped. An interesting note is if you walk 2.5 miles a day, that's pretty darn close to 1,000 miles a year. And I consider that bragging rights to be able to walk 1,000 miles in a year. And that's what I did my first year after separation. The time in nature was valuable to me. The fresh air was valuable. Resetting my mind after work was valuable. Staying out of my apartment, which was a gloomy, glum place, was valuable. The social contact was valuable. And I put in earbuds and I would listen to really good content on YouTube about grief, about recovering after divorce, about mindset, and even about developing a YouTube channel, which I'm doing here with you now. Another outlet that I hadn't done before that I dove into, I was timid about this, but I actually started going to a yoga class. And I joined a yoga membership. It was really affordable. I think when I joined the membership, if you choose 6 sessions, it was like $12 a session. I didn't do any of this intense yoga, but it was more the relaxing thing. What I found about yoga, definitely a social group, seeing the same people over and over. Most yoga classes I've been in has like 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio of women to men. There's a benefit there, right? But it also helped me to get in touch with my relaxation side, and it was another physical outlet. I also learned to pickleball, which I found pickleball to be quite an interesting place for social reasons, because everywhere I went to play pickleball, they were the older set of people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, which is fine. I wasn't going there to meet people to date. Yes, I was going for social interaction, and I was going also for that physical outlet. But what I found is everyone was so helpful in helping me learn how to play pickleball, helping me not injure myself, helping me to up my game. So that was really cool social outlet. And it was an affordable thing too. On the days here in Florida where it was rainy, and believe me, in the summertime it rains almost every day for a good half hour, thunderstorms. But those days where I couldn't get out there to the park in the sun, I would go to the gym and I would walk my miles on the treadmill. Of course, listening to the podcast and with my earbuds or good music. And basically, same thing. It's a social place. Eventually, you start seeing the same people over and over, and you say hi. And believe me, when you're building back after divorce and separation, you have to develop those social muscles. It's surprising how awkward it can feel, because guess what? You were in a marriage for 1, 2, 3 decades. You were used to interacting with the same people, the same set of people, i.e., your wife, the in laws, your social friend group. And when you have to learn to build back a new social group, it's hard. And you have to figure out, okay, I got to get these social skills again. These people don't know my inside jokes. They don't know my personality. So it does help to push you. But if you're timid about this, if you're hesitant about this, yes, first of all, go talk to your doctor. It's very important that you're not going to risk your health by going out there exercising. If you're in your 50s like I am, do it in a controlled way, because injury, sports injury, is a realistic thing. Okay. The number 2 thing that I started doing that helped me to build back better, I started doing this pretty darn early, was journaling. Now, stay with me on this. I took a trip that had been planned for me and my ex. We were going to go out west and check out some property. She, of course, didn't come because I moved out. But I still took that trip in order, it was paid for, and I took it in order to see the property, but also for sake of adventure. Now, when I was on the airplane for that trip, I decided, because I was still kind of like in grief, I was in shock, and yes, I was in shock. Oh my gosh, my marriage of over 30 years is done. What have I done? We doubt ourselves. We question, what have we done? Well, guess what? I wrote in there in a Sudoku book of all things. I was on this flight out west, and I'm writing in a Sudoku book all the reasons why I chose to move out, why I chose to take the step to end a marriage. All right. That was my real first hardcore attempt at journaling. What did it do? Well, first of all, it helped me put on paper all the scattered thoughts I had about why I decided to change gears in my 50s and step away from a long-term marriage. It helped me months or weeks and months down the road. I would still look at that paper and say, aha, that's the reason. Aha, that's it. Because believe me, of all the guys I talk to, many of them get into their place alone. They figure out that dating at our age is tough. They figure out that financially it's tough, and they try to get back with the woman that they left, or they try to get back with the woman that left him. Alrighty. If you put on paper the reasons why your marriage wasn't working, by taking something off your mind and putting it on paper, it cements it. It changes the quality of your thought process. And so it's there. And you can remind yourself over and over again, this is why I took the steps I took. That first effort in journaling, believe it or not, on that plane ride was very important. I took that as a cue that journaling is really important. All right, journaling helps you quantify where you're at in your life, check in on the steps, and also it helps you to kind of change your mind, or you can come up with goals or change gears. Because when we're in grief, when we're in sorrow, when we're in a difficult period, when we're in change, we can sabotage our efforts and go back to a difficult situation that we knew wasn't working for ourselves. Now, my journaling over the years has changed its quality, it's changed its course. Now I use it for self development. Now I use it for a challenge factor. Now I use it for grounding. But journaling can take on many sorts and flavors. But I encourage you to experiment with it, men. And when you do this, you have to write like no one will ever read it. You have to be very candid with your journaling. And it's surprising after a few attempts how this helps you. All right, number 3, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because, of course, everybody's going to be in a different place. But 3 for me was important, and it's limiting social media. I got off of Facebook. I didn't worry about my status, single status, married status, or any of it. It helped me not to concentrate on what my old friends were doing or what our social friends were doing when I was married. It kept me out of the realm of seeing what my ex was doing, and I just got off of Facebook. Now, social media can also take the form of Instagram. It can take the form of TikTok, X, which used to be Twitter. The point with social media is that these things are designed to take you through rapid cycles of emotional cycles. If you look at it this way, guys, in an hour of scrolling through social media, you experience the ups, the downs, the rage, the fury, the love, the, oh, isn't that a cute little whatever. Your rapid fluctuation of emotions, this is not normal. This is something that's designed to get our dopamine and epinephrine and these chemicals in our brain just to give us a high and to keep us on that app. I'll repeat that. These apps are designed to keep us in the app, to keep us plugged in, to get a rise out of us. So you want to try to clean up your mind, clean up your nervous system by getting off of the social media. I know it's not what's normal in our society. What's normal in our society is we have our phones like this and we're scrolling. You have to get past that right now in this point in your recovery, in your rebuild, because this energy is not going to help your nervous system. What we're going to do is we're going to work on settling your nervous system so you're more comfortable in your own skin, so you're more happy with you. You learn to like yourself again, so you're not reactionary. Also, so you're not in this bubble, an escape bubble. Scroll. We're going to get away from that, and we're going to settle ourselves and settle our mind and get our nervous system so it's so regulated you won't even recognize yourself. We're going to have to get away from social media. Take a break from it. Take a long break from it, and you'll be surprised how really your life develops a new quality. Your life develops a new pizzazz and zest. You start noticing things in nature. You start noticing things about yourself. You start finding that you're present with other people. And that is a big deal, to be present in today. Because so much in our world is about, and especially in the US, it's about capitalism, it's about things, it's about stuff, it's about experiences. We're going to change gears for a while, guys. Number 4 is spending time in nature. Not too far from the stuff I was just talking about with number 3. Why do we spend time in nature? to settle ourselves, to get out of the rat race, but also to slow things down so you have time to process. One of the things I did quite often every week to 10 days is I was trucking it. It was about an hour ride from me to go to the beach here in Florida. Yeah, I live near the beach, but I wanted to go to an incredible beach. So I would drive up to this beach that had these shark's teeth everywhere. And they're not big guys, they're little shark's teeth, like the size of your pinky nail, your fingernails. But for me, I would drive up there even after work. And I'd get there at 5 in the afternoon and I'd just walk for an hour each way. And I would pick up these shark's teeth. Don't you know that over a year's time, I picked up over 1,000 shark's teeth? And I put these things in a whiskey bottle, and they look so cool. I'm going to show you on another video. My shark's teeth, what does it represent? I don't know. It just represents all the time I took to settle down, to change gears, and to spend time in nature and reflect. I remember one time I was on the beach and I was out there and had a lot of angst with people, just people that had done me wrong, people that I couldn't forgive, people that I think had pissed me off, or people that had said things. Okay, I had this bad negative energy. So what I did is, on this beach, there weren't people for hundreds of yards. And every person that I needed to forgive, every person that I needed to let go of that negative energy, one at a time, I would write their name in the sand. Okay, say for example, Bob. I would write Bob and I would mentally say, I forgive Bob. Just as these waves wipe this name away, I forgive Bob and I will forget about the hardships. The wave would come and wash away the name. Okay, is that the forgiveness? I don't know, but it's representative of something. It's representative of taking and in freeing this person from your psyche, freeing this energy and letting it go. Because believe me, when you build back better, you're going to have to let go of the people that have pissed you off. You're going to have to let go of the situations where you did people wrong. So that's what I did, and I had to do that a couple of times. Write names down, people that had been long gone out of my life, but they still had space in my brain. You know, they had space there. They weren't paying rent, but I let them in. But in recovering and building back better, you've got to free this angry space. You got to free the space of angst, the space of negative energy, and you got to open yourself up. Because how are you going to learn to love yourself if you're angry at other people? How are you going to learn to love yourself if you're hanging on to this guile and this resentments? Most of these people don't even know that you have the resentments toward them. So that's what I did, and that practice was so valuable. I've heard of people writing the things that they're guilty about. I've heard of people writing the things that they beat themselves up about, the things that they have grief about. They write it on paper and they roll it around a rock and they'll throw it into a river or they'll throw it into a swamp. Okay, I'm not advocating for littering, but there's something liberating about putting it to paper, writing it in the sand, and freeing it. You have to free yourself of this energy. Spending time in nature will help you to reconnect with a side of yourself that you have to connect with. Trust me on this. But go through the reps the more you do it. Is there a park? Are there trails? The more you do it, the more you will find value in it, and the more it will help your recovery process. Number 5. Oh my gosh, number 5 is really important. And it's probably one of the toughest things that we can do. Why is number 5 tough? Because it's fostering quality social relationships. I gotta tell you, we have people in our lives that we have no business following their advice from. They will tell you some jacked up advice, especially if you're going through divorce. They will give you some jacked up advice. First of all, be careful of who you listen to. Be careful of who you allow to chatter in your ear about things like this, your recovery, okay? Because they can get you in a rough situation. I will say one of the best relationships that I fostered that didn't come until my separation was the neighbor across the street from where I lived with my ex-wife. Well, he came out and he knew I was going through something. He could tell I had moved out, and he says, "What's going on, Glenn? Well, I told him everything what was going on, and we chatted a little bit. In that conversation came out that I thought it'd be cool to play guitar because I knew he played guitar. And he goes, "Oh yeah, you can come over and watch me sometime." I said, I wonder, should I get guitar lessons? At the time, I was 55 years old. And nope, 54, I think. At the time, I had not touched a guitar. And basically, he said, "Absolutely. You know what? I'll teach you." And that friendship developed into something very rich, to where he had gone through divorce, and he kind of helped mentor me. He helped settle me. He was good, kind ear at the right time. And it was just one of those things that I fostered the relationship. We would keep in touch with each other. Another set of relationships was at the trivia at the microbrew, where I joined a trivia group. I barely knew the one person in that group, but she had months before, she had said, "Yeah, come join us. We do trivia once a week." I found myself there every week. Why? Because it was consistency, repetition, the same faces, and it was a really freaking good reason to just laugh and be silly and be goofy and to let all the stress go aside. All right. What do you have to do to develop these relationships? You kind of have to practice. It's like a muscle. You got to practice. Not every group is for you. Not every place is for you. Do you want to be at the bar, belly aching to people at the bar? Probably not the best group. But you do have to find yourself saying yes more when people offer opportunities, or asking and say, "Hey, what's that you're talking about? What is dragon boat racing? What is, a pickleball league or a volleyball league?" Or all these things. You can inquire, and all of a sudden you find yourself on the team, and you find this as part of your social circle. Are these going to be some of the most richest relationships you got? No, but it can be a lifeline when you're lonely. Volunteering at a church, volunteering at an organization that feeds the hungry, um, even helping out at a 12-step group. These are all ways that you can connect with other people, expand your social circle. The key here is when you're going through separation and divorce, you have to build your base of support, your base of colleagues, your base of people that you rely on. Not all of them are going to be easy to talk to. And I do find that here in the US, if you're not in a small town, it's really challenging to make connections and make friends, and especially for men. So you have to be extra double intentional about your efforts. Networking isn't everyone's favorite game. I realize that. And it's a challenge. If you work from home, it's even more challenging to get out there and open yourself up. But you owe it to yourself to get out and put in the reps and at least say hi. Even if you're walking in the park and you see someone for the third time, talk to them, pet their dog. It doesn't have to be deep conversations, but what you're doing is you're stretching your social muscles. This will help when you go back into the dating world. And as a sidebar, I'm going to tell everyone, don't jump right into dating after separation and divorce. After you've been married for decades and decades, it will feel like it's the most natural and right thing to do to get back out there and get in the arms of some honey. Yeah, of course that's what you want to do, but that's not what you need. The quality rebuild is where you will simply take time in the alone spaces to get to know yourself, to settle who you are, to explore what are the things I might have done wrong in this relationship? What are the traits I want to work on now? Because when you get into the energy of a new relationship, working on your traits, your self traits, that's hard because your energies are towards someone else. Go ahead and avoid the trap of getting right into dating other people immediately. Give yourself the space to be alone, to get to know yourself, to get to like yourself, to figure out who you want to be in this next chapter. Because we do intuitively, subconsciously seek out people that are similar to our ex. And there's prudence in just maybe learning about yourself and maybe seeing what other types of people are out there. but that all comes in due time. There's no hurry to get into a new relationship. It's the alone spaces where you build on the richness of who you are. All right, let's talk about number 6. Number 6 is faith matters. Well, okay, some people are spiritual, some people are raised in the church, some people have to serve in the church. My pointing in saying this is faith is important to help you ground yourself once again. So you're seeing a similar theme with all of these points. It's grounding yourself. It's settling things down. It's reaching inward, but outward, okay, in a responsible way. So faith is going to help you with your social aspect. It's going to help you to let go of things, and it's also going to help you to connect. One of the groups I found myself that I really loved, I wish I was close to that area where I could go there again, but it was a church on Sunday at noon, and it was in all places a microbrew, okay? It was church for people who have been burned by churches or who didn't like church or didn't know about church. It was Cru, church for the rest of us, CRU, church for the rest of us. And it was really chill. It was really a good vibe. And I think there's room for more of that in our society. Enough said about church, but I encourage you to explore the spiritual side, the faith side of you. All right, number 7. This is something that's going to pay dividends for years. You have to get control of your finances. Yeah. Why do I say that? Well, if you're in your 50s and 60s, you're either retired now or you're about to be retired. You're gearing up for retirement. This is the time to really get your finances under control. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not giving financial advice. What I did is I took all of the subscription services and pared them down, because you got $5 at a time every month to $15 a month. Boom, boom, boom. That stuff adds up, man. So get rid of the subscription services. Are there places where you can borrow, like use someone else's Wi-Fi? Do you really need that big TV? These are things I'm talking about, because assuming that you're going to be single for years and years, we don't know this, but you're going to be single for years and years, your retirement is on you. Half of us were eviscerated from the divorce because here in the U.S., divorce does not often favor the man. It favors the woman in the courts and financially. So you're already roughed up. So you have to really put pen to paper and come up with a budget, come up with a savings plan, and refine what you're spending your money on. And I got to tell you, the other part that's so jacked up is that dating is not cheap anymore. If you live in a city, in a metropolitan area here in the US, one date is hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That's amazing to me. When I was dating, when I was meeting people from the apps, I would go to coffee. Sure, I'd pay for their coffee. But I think 2 times I went to dinner with someone right off the bat, or lunch. It was lunch. And I got to tell you, I resisted that urge, because in our society, the man feels the urge to pay for it. That gets expensive quick. And with the economy the way it is, and with the recession and the prices, oh, look, they're going to jump up again with the oil in the war in Iran. Guess what? Prices aren't getting cheaper and restaurants aren't getting cheaper. So for me, a cup of coffee was enough for me to find out if there was even a good vibe with this woman when I was dating. You have to look at all of the things you have gearing up for yourself for retirement, as far as your 401k, your 403bs, your annuities. These are things to get control over. Don't let your retirement come and find that all of a sudden you don't know what you have coming in every month. You can figure out what you're going to have for Social Security. It may be time to get a financial advisor if you don't have one. And I really think that's a prudent thing, especially since You know, a lot of guys that let their women take care of their finances through the marriage. So if you're in that shape, this is something you're going to have to become a pro at, is your finances. All right, guys. So these are 7 things that I did to help myself build back so much better than just kind of floundering and going home after work and taking a nap and laying around and eating crappy food. That's another one. I'm going to do a video on our diet, okay? Because I think what you put into your body affects what comes out of performance. But anyways, there are things that we can do to improve our odds to make our recovery time and our build back time, our next chapter, amazing. So if you like this content, if you get something out of this, please, my love language is if you put a thumbs up on that video, put a comment. I'd love your comments. And if you really got a lot out of it, yeah, it'd be cool if you subscribe to my channel, because what we're doing is we're building a community of men to support each other, a supportive community to help men going through one of the most difficult things any of us can go through, is divorce. All right? So until next video, peace out, guys. You're awesome, and you got this.